Hi, welcome back to my channel. This is A Bookish Persuasion. My name is Amanda, and today I'm going to be doing my February TBR. So I have a ridiculous amount of books that I'm going to try and conquer this month. Considering it's the shortest month of the year, I wouldn't be surprised if this is my longest TBR for the year. So we're going to have to kind of figure that out. So there's a couple different readathons I want to participate in. I had to cut a couple of them. I try not to double up on the prompts from between different readathons, but I definitely can if I need to. But for the moment, I have established a set TBR with different books for each readathon I'm planning to participate in. You're probably going to be hearing my cat Bob meow, probably be hearing my dogs. I'm sorry, we're at home. We do what we can. So let's get started with two books that I've already finished for this month that were on my TBR, neither of which I own, but I have already finished them. As I'm filming this, it's February 3rd, so I'm a little bit behind. But I finished The Last Life of Prince Alistair, which was by Alexandra Bracken, the second in the duology of The Dreadful Tale of Prosper Redding. And then I also finished Across the Green Grass Fields by Shauna McGuire, both of which I listened to on audiobook. One from my library, one from Scribd, and I don't have physical copies and I don't know how to put a picture up, but once I figure that out, there's a picture. So I've already finished those two, but I have, again, just an excessive amount of books that I'm going to try to get to. So the first readathon I'm participating in is hosted by Books and Lala, the year-long readathon called Buzzwordathon. Technically, it's the 1st through the 7th of each month, but I'm just going to participate this entire month reading books in this category. The word for this month is a color, so the color has to be in the title. And I cannot tell you how many books I have that have a color in the title. It's ridiculous. There's just so many. So I'm going to be showing you those books here. Just the ones that are the top of the priority list. I probably have a good 20 more in my library that I'm not, my own personal library, that I'm probably not going to get to. So let's just go through those. First is going to be Dark Lover, which is the first in the Black Dagger Brotherhood series. So it does say Black Dagger Brotherhood on there. This is a romance novel by J.R. Ward. Basically, it's about vampires. And so like an adult Twilight is instantly what I'm thinking, but I honestly don't think that's what it is. So this is about the last purebred vampire on the earth, which his name is Wrath, and he actually finds a woman named Beth, who is part vampire, I guess, part human, and she doesn't know it, and then there's some sort of romance that ensues. I don't really know, but I'm excited to read this. I've heard it's very good, and I've heard it's quite long, like the series, so I didn't want to wait until later in the year to get this started. I definitely want to get that started as soon as possible. Next is a reread. This is Redwall by Brian Jacques. This is a series that I actually read and adored in middle school. Basically, all I remember is it's about creatures, and I remember he used very descriptive writing, specifically about like beverages and food and the kind of war gear that they had to wear in their homes. And I remember I just loved his descriptive writing style. So I really want to reread this series, or at least the very first one. So that is also going to be on my TBR this month. Just so you know what it is, it says, "It is the summer of the late rose, and the gentle mice of Mossflower Wood are gathered at the ancient stone abbey of Redwall, celebrating a year of peace and abundance, but a sinister shadow has fallen across the abbey." So that'll be a cool one to kind of figure out. Next is a classic. I really love these Barnes & Noble hardcover classic editions. So this is Anne of Green Gables by L.M. Montgomery. Surprisingly, I've never read Anne of Green Gables, but I love that these books come with their own little bookmark and like the ribbon bookmark. I just think this would be really cute to read, especially because it's a Netflix series and I haven't watched this series purposely because I have not read the book. So I think this would be great to read. So that is on the list, hopefully. Next is The Black Prism by Brent Weeks. This is a high fantasy. I don't honestly know anything about it, but Reagan over at the Peruse Project had talked very highly of this book. And so I just wanted to give it a try. On the back it says, "Guile is the prism, the most powerful man in the world. He is high priest and emperor, a man whose power, wit, and charm are all that preserves a tenuous peace. Yet prisms never last, and Guile knows exactly how long he has left to live." And then he discovers he has a son, and he has to decide how much he's willing to pay to protect a secret that could tear his world apart. So that sounds pretty cool. I'm interested. It's on the list to hopefully get to. Next is going to be The Hazelwood by Melissa Albert. This is a young adult fantasy. I think it's a retelling. It says 17-year-old Alice Proserpine? I have no idea. And her mother has spent most of Alice's life on the road, always a step ahead of the uncanny bad luck biting at their heels. But when Alice's grandmother, the reclusive author of a book of pitch dark fairy tales, dies alone on her estate, the Hazelwood, Alice learns how bad her luck can really get. So I'm intrigued. I've heard very good things about this. I know there's a sequel. I own the sequel. Haven't read the first one, so planning to read that one, get that off of my TBR. Next is, I believe this is a middle grade series. It's Deep Blue by Jennifer Donnelly. Obviously it's about mermaids. That's all I know. I don't even know the synopsis or anything, but I got this on eBay, and it's one of those cool editions that it's a hardcover, but there's no dust jacket. It's just a hardcover. So I'm intrigued to see what this is about. It comes with a cute little map, and I do have the whole series because of my eBay purchasing ridiculousness lately, but I want to check that out. I'm in the mood for mermaids, and it looks like there's like a little undersea castle, so I will let you know how that one goes. Next has been on my TBR for a while. It's called The Cerulean by Amy Ewing, and I am very excited to read this. I haven't actually heard anybody talk about it. All I remember is I bought it because of the description or the synopsis. I bought it because of the synopsis. So basically it says, in 3 days' time, Sarah Lighthaven will make the greatest leap of faith a Cerulean can make, the High Priestess announced. She will throw herself from the dais in the night gardens and spill her blood to break the tether. She will be honored and cherished by us all as we travel to our new home. So basically, Sarah is our main character, and she selected to throw herself off the tether? Is that what it is? No, throw herself off the dais and spill her blood in order to break the tether. So her city is tethered somewhere, and each year or whenever they want to move, they have to sacrifice somebody. So she either volunteered or selected to be the person that sacrificed. I just think that sounds really cool. I'm excited to read it. I'll let you know what I think. Next is going to be a very popular booktube book that's been recommended a lot. It's called The Devouring Gray by Christine Lynn Herman. Beautiful cover. It looks very, I know nothing about this. No, wait. Okay, I think I read the synopsis before I purchased this after hearing it raved about by booktubers. And I think it was something about a family that has to protect their magic or something. And there's some sort of competition, I think. Let me see how right I am. Let's read the read a little bit. After the death of her sister, 17-year-old Violet Saunders finds herself dragged to Four Paths, New York. Violet may be a newcomer, but she soon learns her mother isn't. They belong to one of the revered founding families of the town, where stone bells hang above every doorway and danger lurks in the depths of the woods. So it looks like there's 3 different characters. There's Violet Sanders, Justin Hawthorns, and Harper Carlisle. So we probably have some multi-point of view in this book. And it's something about the founding families, and they have to protect the city. And I'm pretty sure there is some sort of competition in this. So I really want to get to this one this month, so I will let you know how that one goes. Now I got some big books on here. So next is going to be Anne Bishop, the Black Jewels trilogy. I only want to read the first one. I'm not trying to kill myself too much. This is Daughter of the Blood. So this is the first in the Black Jewels trilogy. The reason I want to read this is because I've heard that Sarah J. Maas, who is my favorite author of all time, was very inspired by this series. So this is a bind-up of all 3 of the books. I'm not sure where it ends. I have no idea. I'm gonna have to look through this and like figure out where it ends and the second book starts, but I'm only planning on reading the first one in this series. So I will let you know how that one goes. And then my last biggest book on my TBR, probably for the entire year, maybe even forever, I don't know, is The Priory of the Orange Tree. I'm not sure how to say that, by Samantha Shannon. I know she's the author of the Bone Season series, which I have not read, but everybody's raved about. And this one is about the House of Berethnet has ruled Aeneas for 1,000 years. Still unwed, Queen Sovereign IX must conceive a daughter to protect her realm from destruction, but assassins are getting closer to her door. Ead Durian is an outsider at court. Though she has risen to the position of lady-in-waiting, she is loyal to a hidden society of mages. Ead keeps a watchful eye on Sabran, secretly protecting her through forbidden magic. So, I mean, it's a fantasy. I don't really know much more than that. I just think the cover looks really cool because it's some sort of ancient looking dragon. And I love big, thick, chunky paperbacks. I say this every video. So I will let you know what I think of this one, but this one's definitely a priority for me. So those are all the books for Buzzwordathon. So, okay, next. I talked about last month in January how I was participating in a readathon hosted by Holly Hart's Books, and that is called Medievalathon, and I made a lot of progress in that readathon, but there's 2 books I still want to try and complete for that readathon, and that continues on through the 10th of this month. So the first one I'm already about 120 pages into. It's The Well of Ascension by Brandon Sanderson. So technically, this was supposed to be the book I was going to read as a prompt for Brown on the cover, but I just really couldn't get into it. Not because it's bad, but just because I've been reading a lot of big books lately and I needed something light and like frothy, something fast I could get to, which is why I read The Last Life of Prince Alastor and Across the Green Grass Fields. So technically, The Dreadful Tale of Prosper Redding, The Last Life of Prince Alastor has Brown on the cover. So if I don't get to this one, it's okay. I've still met that prompt, but this was the book I'd originally intended to read for that prompt, so I'm still trying to aim for that if I can. And then lastly is a book that was chosen for you, and that is The City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty. So this is a series I found on Depop, the beautiful UK edition. And I know a lot of people really prefer hardcovers, but I love paperbacks. Like they're just so much easier to hold and to read, and I just think I love them a lot more. So I'm excited for that one. I've heard it's very good. I've heard it talked about on BookTube a lot. This one says, in the markets of 18th century Cairo, thieves, tricksters, con artists, and outcasts eke out a living, swindling rich nobles and foreign invaders alike. But alongside this new world, the old stories linger. Tales of jinn and spirits of cities hidden among the swirling sands of the desert, full of enchantment, desire, and riches, where magic pours down every street, hanging in the air like dust. So it just sounds super magical. So I'm very excited. My friend over at KB Winchester, she actually chose this book for me because she was on the phone with me when I opened this book mail. And I forgot to tell you, just in case you're not familiar, this is by Brandon Sanderson. It's called The Well of Ascension. It's the second in the Mistborn series. It's about this main character on the cover here named Vin, who discovers she's a Mistborn, which means that she actually has the ability to burn certain metals in her body and essentially use them for certain powers. And I loved the first book. I think this one I'm going to enjoy. So far, I don't know. It's taking me a little bit to get into it. But still very, very good. It's just, it's a very thick book. I love the slow burning fantasies, but at the moment of where I am at the moment, it's hard for me to get into this because it is slow burning. So we'll see how that one goes. The year-long readathon I'm trying to participate in called Diversathon, and this month's prompt is to read a book about somebody with mental illness. It says main character with mental illness. So for that, I chose Obsessed by Alison Britz. It's a memoir of her life with OCD. So I'm really interested to read more about somebody with OCD because it's a lot more than just the counting and the cleaning and just the patterns. You know, there's a lot of obsessive thoughts that go with it. There's a lot of compulsive thoughts that aren't related to those items. So I'm excited to read this. I'm definitely making a priority on my list for this month. We're going to continue on. The readathon that I'm participating in is called TBR Tackle. And this is going to be hosted by Books and Key. It's Books and K-I. So I think it's pronounced Key. Super fun booktuber. Definitely check her out. But there's a couple different prompts. So there's read a nonfiction book, read a book by a Black, Indigenous, or person of color author, read a translated book, read a short story collection, read a genre you love, read a tome, which is 400 or more pages, an LGBTQ plus author, or a book by an LGBTQ plus author, an ebook, and a classic. So clearly I can double up on these prompts with my Buzzwordathon books. I'm going to aim ambitiously, and I have selected books for each of these that are, well, all but two. I would love some suggestions from you guys on some books that you think would fit my liking, or books that you would just recommend in general. I picked out for all but 2 of the prompts. The 2 prompts that I would like some recommendations for are a book that has been translated. I honestly have no idea. I probably have some of my TBR, but I tried looking some up and I don't know. And then the other one is a book by a Black, Indigenous, or person of color author. I do not currently own this book, but I wanted to read Becoming by Michelle Obama. I just feel like I would love to read her book, but if you guys have any other suggestions, maybe I can find something that I already have on my TBR, on my physical TBR. So just let me know, but that's the plan as of the moment. So for the different prompts, first is the nonfiction book. I want to read Laughing at My Nightmare by Shane Burkall. Now, if you haven't heard of him, he has a YouTube channel. I forget what it's called. I think it's called like Squirmy and Grubs or something, about him and his wife. And it's just, they're such a beautiful couple, and I'm really excited to read his book. He, I believe, has muscular dystrophy. So I just wanted to read his story. I wanted to hear more about his life. So that's where that book is coming in. And then next is a genre that I would love. So I picked one of my books from these 12 books will self-destruct list. I picked Long May She Reign by Rhiannon Thomas. And this is a YA fantasy that I've owned forever. I don't know anything about it. I bought it because the cover was beautiful at the time off Book Outlet. On the back it says, if I claimed my supposed throne, I'd be sticking out my neck for anyone to take a swing, and if I failed to hold the crown. But if I didn't claim the throne, I'd still be in danger. Who would leave the rightful heir alive if they wanted to control the throne themselves? So it kind of makes me think of Three Dark Crowns, which I also haven't read. But it sounds cool. It sounds like something I would be interested in, but I selected it to try to get that off my backlist. Next is going to be a book by an LGBTQ plus character or author, and I'm excited. Gideon the Ninth by Tamsin Muir was selected for me as part of a buddy read that I'm doing with some friends, including Katie Winchester. Let me just read you this little snippet, because I'm going to tell you, I don't think there's been a descriptor of a more perfect book. It says, lesbian necromancers explore a haunted Gothic palace in space. Does that not sound perfect? Lesbian necromancers explore a haunted Gothic palace in space. And this is just a little blurb by Charles Strauss. I don't even know who that is, but I'm so excited. I'm already 5 chapters into this. It's one of those books where at the very beginning, it's really confusing. So I'm probably gonna go back and reread those first 5 chapters, but I'm very excited to read this because I've heard the series is excellent. So that is a huge, huge, huge book on my list. Next was to read a classic, and I really wanted to reread A Little Princess by Frances Hodgson Burnett. This was my favorite classic as a kid. So I'm really excited to reread this one if I can. Clearly, Anne of Green Gables, if I get to that one, could count as my classic and for Buzzwordathon, but I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try. Next is a short story. Now, I don't know if this is classified as a short story, but it's our stories, our voices. Technically, this could also be the author of Black, Indigenous, or person of color, because there's a lot of different authors, and they are, it's 21 YA authors that get real about injustice, empowerment, and growing up female in America. And I'm really excited about that. So this could technically count for both. I'm pretty sure this is an anthology. And if I'm not mistaken, an anthology is the same as a short story collection. I could be very wrong. I am not afraid to admit what I do not know. Somebody educate me. For tome, I need to read this. This is the second in the Blood and Ash series. It's A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This is definitely a tome. I believe it's 620 something. Hold on. 626 pages, I believe. So this definitely classifies as a tome. I loved the first book. One of my new favorite books of all time. So I'm really hoping this one lives up to that as well. Again, big, thick, chunky paperback that I love. So definitely a high priority on my list. And then lastly is an ebook, which I have my Kindle here with my little rainbow tree. You can hear my dogs outside again. And I plan to read Captive of Wolves, which is by Eva Chase. And it just sounds really cool. I think it's about a girl who is raised by wolves, but she's a fae. I honestly don't know. The cover looks appealing. Becca in the books recommended it. I typically like books that she recommends most of the time. So I'm gonna give it a whirl. And I think, dear friends, we're not done. There's a couple series that I went to continue through that I couldn't find an applicable prompt for. First of which is Wondersmith, The Calling of Morgan Crow by Jessica Townsend. Just go bury me now. I'm really shooting myself in the foot. 3 books in this series, which is the Nevermore series by Jessica Townsend. This is a middle grade. I absolutely adored the first one. It's raved about on BookTube. It's definitely worth the hype. So I really want to get to the second one and then eventually read Hollow Pox, which is the 3rd one. So I wanted to try to get to that. And then there's 2 series that come out this month that I do not own. The first is the Ashlords, or it's just called Ashlords, which is the sequel to, wait a minute. Wait. I don't think that's the name of the title. I think it's called Bloodsworn. All right, the first is called Bloodsworn, which is the sequel to Ashlords, which is a book I read in November, I think, and I really, really enjoyed it. It was a race, and there were these phoenix horses, and the people racing them had to use like alchemy to try and create new phoenixes every day. I just really want to read the second one. Don't own it, but I do plan to have it as soon as it comes out. And then probably one of my 2 most anticipated releases of the year, A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J. Maas. Oh, that reminds me, I wanted to reread the whole series before it comes out, and I think it comes out the 16th of this month. My husband pre-ordered it for me back for my birthday in December, so I cannot wait to have this book, guys. I cannot wait. As soon as I have it, no matter what I'm doing, I'm dropping it and I'm reading that book. But I have to also finish A Court of Frost and Starlight. I wanted to reread that one. I've already reread the other 3. Don't have that one with me. Sorry, this TBR is a mess. But you know what? It's my channel. I can do what I want. So if you guys have suggestions or recommendations, I still need a translated book and possibly either a short story collection or a book by a Black, Indigenous, or a person of color author, because Our Stories, Our Voices may not be a short story collection. I don't know. You guys let me know. Thank you so much for watching. Sorry this was such a shit show. I look forward to talking with you next time. Bye!